Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. And ladies and gentlemen, if you listen closely, you can hear it. Just listen. You hear that? That's exactly what's going on in Broncos country. Not a damn thing. As of this recording, as of this live stream, the Broncos have been sitting on their hands in terms of signing players outside of the actual league. Libre and I are trying to figure out what the double deuce is going on. Why is it taking so long? Are they going to do anything? We're pulling our hair out. Well, at least whatever little hair I have left. And we're going to try to break it down. Hopefully we get some breaking news. Wouldn't that be awesome if we got some breaking news while this live stream is on? But Libre and I are going to get down to all the good stuff about what the heck is going on. So please make sure your food is warm, your beer is cold, because you are not going to want to miss a single episode of today's show. I mean, you really shouldn't miss a single episode, because it's definitely important. And by the way, let me just say, you guys used to, does anybody remember when you can go into the store, the corner store, and you used to get 4 bags of chips for $1? Like, the 90s were so awesome, weren't they? Like, and it didn't really matter. They could be Doritos, they could be Cheetos, they could be whatever you wanted, but you could get 4 for $1. And you can't do that anymore. Now each one costs like 75 cents each, and like $1 used to be worth a whole lot more back in the day. And I miss those days. I really do. And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which direction you're watching, is my co-host, the one, the only, the incredible, my best friend, El Bronco Libre.
What's happening? Welcome to the 2026 NFL New League Year. And this is what the Broncos have done.
I knew we would get a kick out of playing with Johnny Soundboard eventually. But yes, he's totally right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Libre.
No, it's like, I understand like some of the things that they might be doing, but come on, we have money to use. Let's go.
Isn't it kind of crazy, Libre? When you don't have a lot of money is when you want to buy everything. And when you do have money, it's kind of like you don't want to buy nothing. You kind of want to save it for some stupid reason.
Right? Unbelievable. Let's go. The only thing that I can think of that's possibly could be in the works, and again, we don't know everything that's going on, but what if they're working on a huge blockbuster trade, which is a potentially that could happen.
Keeping those fingers crossed, Libre. Hopefully we get some news, because the trade window is open starting today until November, when the trade deadline happens. But before we get to any of that good stuff, if this is your first time here, welcome in. If not, welcome back. Got a couple of things we got to get out of the way, just like we do at the start of every single show. So please bear with us, or should I say Bronco with us? Yeah. First, we'd like to ask you for your support by showing it to us here by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and liking on this and all of the previous videos if you haven't seen them on the channel, which is the Orange and Blue Network, where we are coming to you live. For those of you that have the ability to watch us live, we really, really thank you. And showing your support goes a long way to helping us spread our message throughout Broncos country that we are here and we are not going anywhere. Audio listeners, regardless of what platform you're listening to us, your support is very much appreciated as well. If you'd like to leave a 5-star review, also much appreciated. If you want, you can screenshot it. You can send it to our socials, which are right there at the bottom of the screen. Mine is at a 6'10" Mexican on Twitter. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020 at gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, today's show is brought to you by Dubby. For those that don't know, Dubby's got no sugar, no calories, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. It's basically formulated with nothing but amino acids, B vitamins, and nootropics, which is part of their patented neurofactor, nootropic, and the caffeine, which is derived directly from the coffee fruit. And as Libre and I like to say around here, it's all the good stuff without all the bad that you normally get from energy drinks and all of those other sugary stuff that are in anything that gives you energy. Basically, Dubby is here to help you supplement, to give you all the good stuff without all the bad, as I said. And to show you just how awesome they are, they would like to hook you up with a 10% off discount when you get your final order at checkout. If you use the code OBN10 to get your 10% off at checkout. Shout out to all the guys over at Dubby for being continued sponsors of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a show schedule still going on for those that do not know. The times that I'm going to read to you about all the other shows that are here on the network, please keep in mind, are in Mountain. Mondays and Fridays at 11 a.m. You can catch the Orange and Blue Blitz. On Mondays at 7, we have the Broncos Bros, because do you even Broncos Bro? You know what I'm saying? I'm still waiting for that invitation, man. I want to be on the show. Yeah, guys, hook me up, man. On Tuesdays at 7:30, we have the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue, which is the flagship show. On Wednesdays, just before we go live, we have the Mile Symposium for those of you that are Nuggets, and Rocky season is about to come up too, right? Yeah. So all Denver sports, they got you covered. On Thursdays, we have the Mile High Oukast at 7 p.m. And then Viva los Broncos on Fridays, select Fridays during the offseason, every Friday during the regular season. And we will be live this coming Friday to talk about any, hopefully, acquisitions that the Broncos make in 2 days' time. We have the Fresh Squeeze, which comes to you with any live Broncos breaking news. So make sure you have that notification button live so you do not miss a single notification. And then during the regular season, we have the Get Buck pregame show where the guys break down all of the activities, the players, the inactives, and the actives, and all that good stuff. And for those that do not have access to the game, we got you covered as well with the Bucking Booth play-by-play. And then at the end of that game, regardless of the result, we have the Buck Your Feelings post-game show where we talk about all the good, the bad, and the Baki, and everything in between.
Whew.
Yeah. And to kind of go off of the point, Libre and I I think Libre and I are going to have to start recording our conversations backstage, because I feel like we have such great conversations, and then the second we get on the air after the intro, it's kind of like, what were we talking about? So
right.
So we might have to start like a Patreon or something where you guys can get the behind the scenes, like, but Shy Vargas jumping in saying the Raiders are making more moves than Kansas. Let me reiterate that. The Raiders are making moves. Kansas City Chiefs are making moves. Broncos did not make moves. Well, let me just say, I don't want to say that the Broncos do not make moves, because if you saw that intro video, Peyton Manning was in there dancing, bro, and number 77 was dancing too. So the Broncos have moves. I think what Shy Vargas was trying to say, Libre, is that the Broncos have not made any free agency moves.
Well, in technicality, yes, the Broncos have made free agent moves, but it's with the players that were already on the team. So they're just going back and they've re-signed how many? I just was on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players they've re-signed already. So not anybody from other teams at this moment, but we have actually signed 7 players that were on the team last year. I think one of the biggest ones so far is Alex Singleton. I think him being one of the bigger signings and getting him back with the team is huge. You have to remember, he's the leader on the defense. He's a captain for a reason. And bringing him back, I feel like was a good decision by the Broncos. And I feel like they understood that as well. And they did not let him go because you have to look at his numbers again. The leading tackler on the team. He's that voice. He's the captain there for a reason. So bringing him back, that leadership and so forth, I feel like we're going to be out there and doing some good things, especially with the defense again. But we're still missing some pieces.
I agree. As we said earlier, Libre and I, well, let me reiterate that myself. I've just kind of been in the middle of everything. If you guys have been following Broncos Twitter like I have, I mean, the reactions are all over the place, and everybody is just bombarding the the more inside Broncos guys like your Say Bettinger, your Benjamin Albrights. All those guys are just getting bombarded by questions from fans that just want to know, hey, what's going on? Can you give us an insight? Who's on the radar? Who's on the move? And on one side, I get it. The Broncos are re-signing all the players because they're literally almost letting it known to everybody in the world, like, hey, we're putting our chips back on the table because we're going to try to run it back what we ran back last year. Because they went 14-3 and they believe that what they have now is good enough to get them back to the big dance. That's a hell of a gamble to make, Libre, because we have to understand that the thing about football is that not every season is exactly the same. So you're always going to get the same results, regardless of the talent that you have. And it's not always going to be. I'm not saying that the Broncos can't go 14-3 again. Maybe they can do better, but they can also do worse. So injuries are definitely a part of the game, and injuries are the reason why the Broncos are not current Super Bowl champions, or at least been able to go to the dance and fight for a chance to win. So I get that aspect. But on the other hand, to be honest with you, Libre, we've kind of been spoiled. I mean, think about it. Just at this point last year, when they announced that they went out and got Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga, I mean, the Broncos were the talk of the town. You couldn't turn a channel or a podcast on and not everybody ranting and raving at just how the Broncos won free agency, And I feel like we've kind of gotten used to that. And I don't know. It kind of sucks. And I told you earlier, Libre, that the Seahawks currently are and the Broncos are the only two teams who have not acquired anybody from the outside. So it is kind of weird to kind of know that the Broncos now have money in their pocket. They're not dealing with dead cap hits. They're not dealing with having to ask anybody to restructure their contract to make salary cap room, which, by the way, was a huge advantage for Ben Powers, because Ben Powers was not asked to restructure. He was not asked to move money around or for incentives or none of that. His contract is fully being honored by the Broncos. None of his money, no money is being moved around in that regard. So I do hope that you're right, Libre, and whatever that the Broncos are doing, I hope that it pays off, because if it's one of those where it's like, well, we're just going to run it back and not bring in anybody, that's not a very good look. I'm sorry. It's just not giving off good vibes to me.
Going back to when you're saying like you could potentially see them going 14-3 again, you have to remember now, last year we were playing a third place type of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
This year we're now playing a first place type of schedule. So it's going to be a little bit harder. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get back to the level of being to the AFC Championship or even getting back into the Super Bowl itself.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also another thing, is like what we're doing here is like we can't repeat of what we have, because yes, we might have been a bone away from being into the Super Bowl. J.K. Dobbins, if we happen to make it into that Super Bowl, J.K. Dobbins was on return to play in that game. But again, that's just that one game only, when you're technically going to be there and having potential rust and not being able, and you're not in football condition at that point. But We need to get this figured out because we need better offensive power. Of what we've already done so far, of re-signing Adam Troutman and Nate Atkins, like we need a true tight end here in Denver. Unless Davis Webb is going to be actually using these guys and the potential of what they're being capable of actually doing. Like, I question that right now because last year was very hard to see, especially when we had Evan Ingram. He was out there when, like we talked about this already before, when he was playing, he did very well when they actually gave him targets. And when they just go away from him and he's not out there on certain situations where he need to be out there, unless Davis Webb has something game plan for these guys to actually incorporate this, I hope that that's the case because signing these guys and repeating on what our offense was, we need to do better. Like, because I know we had the situations where we had some games that we did well, and then some games that they were non-existent, nothing out there, and it's just so hard to watch. But again, I need to see something happen within the trade. Maybe it is next month when it is at the draft, right before the draft, and we make a huge blockbuster deal trade, which I think might be happening and what might be in the works as of right now. But we need to do better. Like we were talking backstage, I'm not upset. I'm not disappointed. I'm happy with the additions of the guys that are coming back, but we want to see that big splash. We want to see those moves like we did last year when we said, "Oh my gosh, look, we got Evan Ingram, the Joker. Let's go." That's the thing that we're looking for, and we're not seeing that right now. Hopefully, in the back behind the smoke screen and all that, Sean Payton, George Payton is all working together to get something done for us to be excited about.
One other thing we have to talk about, Libre, and I don't know if it's you who I had this conversation with, but the Broncos dropping, it hasn't happened yet, but they say that they're going to release Greenlaw, and he's the only one out of all the players who, as soon as the league year started 4 hours ago, that wasn't officially released. He's still technically on the Broncos roster. The Broncos have not announced any moves of letting him officially go yet. So,
you know, we were talking about that on the backstage. One thing I possibly that could be happening, even though the new league year started today, they have up until like June 1st to actually create the actual release at that time. So hopefully, I think what they might be doing is working in something, like I said, like I just mentioned, a blockbuster trade to get something done. And he's maybe part of that equation of having that done. So until I think June 1st is when his contract becomes 100% guaranteed for this year. I think that's the date that is the next date that's on the line for him. He might be on the team up until June 1st. And if he's not, hopefully he gets traded because this year was very disappointing with him with the high hopes. When he was in there, he did great. And then some of the off the field issues that he had, hurting like his quad, like I think that was the big one that just hurt us off starting off the season, and just some of the other stuff. I know it's football, passionate and so forth about going after the ref late in the season. It's a good thing that it happened after the game and not something that penalized us during the game. So we'll see what happens. I feel like he is going to be done here in Denver. It's just not official as of yet.
Well, see, that's the thing, Libre, because I've been asked by so many people as soon as the news broke. And I'm actually flattered, by the way. Thank you guys for reaching out and thinking about my opinion. But it's basically when we got both Hufanga and Greenlaw, it was like the dream team. And we were not putting one over the other. We knew that these guys were coming from a San Francisco team. They could have easily decided to stay, but they didn't. They came to Denver, and they looked both like they were both hungry and ready to play and make a difference in Denver. Unfortunately, only one of those two was able to actually do that from the start, and that was Hufanga. Hufanga has lived up to every single penny he's been paid. And I couldn't be more happier with that acquisition. With Dre Greenlaw, when we started hearing rumblings of his injury during training camp, Libre, people started to worry. Me, myself, one of them. It's like one of those. It wasn't like something like, oh, he'll be out for like a week or two and then he'll be back, week 3, week 4. It started to be every week, he's not going to be back. And when is he going to come back? When is he going to, like, that started to be the question of not if, it's like when, or not when or if, either way. And when he did come back, we didn't get to see anything of what we saw him in San Francisco, because when he was in San Francisco, that guy was a bully, you know. And that's why I was trying to remember. I don't know if it was you I said to, Libre, or I said it to somebody. Like, it's kind of weird how we don't hear Greenlaw's name mentioned a lot in tackles, in plays made. And it was like, oh, it's because people are not throwing his way like PS2. And I'm like, no, that's totally different. You'd be crazy to throw PS2's way unless you're absolutely sure that the route you're going to run is going to burn him, which 9 times out of 10 it's not. So,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's just weird. Like, we just didn't see it. Like, it wasn't where players were not afraid to run into Greenlaw or test him in coverage or none of that. It just wasn't there. The whole thing with the after the Giants game, I mean, that's still debatable. That's just if it wasn't Greenlaw, it would have been any other teammates. So I don't hold anything for him for that. But I just feel like whatever injury he was dealing with, it really hurt his chances of making an impact and being that guy that is like, boom, he's a difference maker. And if he's not on the field, you definitely notice it. Unfortunately for him, the Broncos were able to hold their own with Justin Sternad and Alex Singleton for those first couple games that he missed. And it just sucks because we thought that when Greenlaw came back, I'm like, okay, this defense is unstoppable. They're not going to run on us. They're not going to do anything. And then we saw what happened after the bye against the Washington Commanders, a game that should have been a stop for the Broncos. And instead, it literally went into overtime, and it came down to Nick Bonito blocking a pass. And that's also another thing, Libre, sidebar, to piggyback on your point. The Broncos won a lot of their games last year by luck. And as much as I'm orange and blue, like you, Libre, and the next guy, I cannot sit here and tell you that the Broncos can literally repeat that again, because it honestly, it can't happen. The Broncos need to go into next year with a different game plan, and they cannot keep relying on winning games by luck. Just because Kansas City did it the year before and just because the Broncos did it last year does not mean that it's going to repeat. And that's just something that this team, that this head coaching staff, the management staff, hell, even the freaking owners have to realize that while it's nice to see them re-signing all these players from last year, but like you and I were talking, the tight ends room, aside from Evan Ingram, it's like nothing against them, Libre, but they weren't exactly game changers. They weren't lighting up the offense. They weren't doing anything that's like, I just don't get it. And the only name that I saw that the Broncos may have been after was Dallas Goedert, but Dallas Goedert's already going to extend with the Eagles. So whatever the Broncos have up their sleeve, Libre, they really need to make sure it hits, because I think they're confusing people more than they're assuring, and that's not a very good sign starting this new league year.
I agree with you 100%. And again, I hope something is brewing, and I feel like you just have to feel like I think that's what's happening now that Davis Webb is now the OC, and he is now going to be calling the plays for the Broncos. I feel like he is going to be able to get these guys in the position that they need to be very successful. And right now, that's all we have right now. We have to put our trust in Davis Webb that he's going to be able to do that. Yes, Sean Payton's going to be in there. He's going to make possibly the final calls or whatever, but it's still going to be Davis Webb. And he's like, this is what we can do. This is the personnel that we have. And this is the best play that we're going to be able to do for these guys. If it is having Nate Atkins out there being a blocking tight end itself, or even having Adam Troutman out there as well as being that blocking tight end and giving Evan Ingram more of the pass routes itself. That's what needs to happen. And I feel like with Davis Webb, he's going to be getting that opportunity where these guys are going to be out there. One of the guys that I really love to see back is the tackle, Alex, number 63. And that what was awesome about Alex is like when we go out there and at the beginning of the season, because he started like a good majority of the games because of Powers being out. But every time that for the first couple of weeks, the first month of the season, when he became tackle eligible, and they said 63 tackle eligible, the stadium was going crazy and cheering for him, and that was the best part. Just seeing that, having him back on the field with us again is going to be good. And who knows? We saw in the Pro Bowl that lineman is going to be going out for possibly a touchdown. If we can get him to get a touchdown like that during the season itself, trust me, if it's here at home, the stadium will erupt. And then another thing, I know that we're talking about running backs. Kenneth Walker III, Mr. MVP of the Super Bowl, which was a big surprise that they did not do a franchise tag on him or do anything like that. He's playing in KC now. And that is like another thing that's going to hurt. One thing that I'm hoping for is that they're not that good on the offensive line where it's not going to be that he won't be able to be very productive during that. But I am happy to see that we did resign JK. Now that we have RJ Harvey and JK back in the backfield itself, and if we can get these guys as true 1-2 punch and not just have JK being the number one rusher, running back on the team, and actually have this 1-2 punch, I feel like this is going to be a good team. And hopefully Davis Webb is going to be able to do that and not have all of these calls for JK because of his injury prone that he's had in his career. And trust, if he's out there and healthy all year long, look what he did up until he got hurt. He was dominant. But if we can have them both between him and RJ, like this team is going to be a two-headed monster, and we're going to be a scary rushing team. And I feel like we can do that. And especially with the linemen that we currently have right now, I played offensive line. And it's a compliment when you go out there and you're rushing the ball and not always passing, because that means that you're in the trenches, you're out there and you're actually blocking for your guys. Just makes you as a lineman feel so much better. And these guys, I know that they want it, and that's what they want to do.
I mean, Libre, it's kind of crazy how we haven't, like, I still, our biggest loss so far was losing, two biggest losses, I should say, was losing JFM, who we knew the Broncos weren't going to keep. Yeah. And, shout out to JFM. Thanks so much for what you did these last 2 years with Denver. He went on to Tennessee to go be a game record with Tennessee. He got his bag. And I don't blame him. And I don't blame him one bit. And the fact that he knew the writing was on the wall and he didn't pound, he didn't do what most people do, But you losing PJ Locke, I was not expecting that, Libre. That one I really felt, because I'm like, a lot of people were saying, well, at least we got Key. And I'm like, I have never been a fan of Key. If you saw his game against Baltimore, I mean, and that was Key out there, and that guy was just terrible. So I would much rather
keeping Key over PJ Locke is because of special teams. That's the only true reason as to why they have Key here, is special teams. And so when I understand what you're saying is because of the way that PJ Locke has played. And yes, I am sad that he's going to Dallas, but he's also, I don't know if you saw his social media post about him leaving and so forth, that he has a special place here in Denver, Spain, playing here for 7 years, but he doesn't do special teams. He's just that safety that's out there or whatnot. So that's part of why they made that business decision to say, let's keep Key and we need to let PJ Lock go because we're going to go somewhere else and probably get him in a replacement player in the draft. That's the only thing is the reason why is because key is the multiple, especially special teams, and that's the key opponent. If you can play two positions on the team, you're more valuable than a person that's just at one position only.
I just read a tweet here, Libre, because I keep scrolling because I'm hoping to get some breaking news. We're 30 minutes into this program, by the way.
Dang,
Fun,
already?
yeah, we talk a lot on this show.
I think you
Fun,
do.
yeah, it's one thing. It's the one thing I'm good at. It's what my Uber passengers love me. Uh, Fun fact, Libre, offensive tackle Frank Crum was 2 touchdowns away from tying the entire tight end room in touchdowns combined this past season. Frank Crum, 1 touchdown. Broncos tight ends combined 3.
3? Wow. That
3,
is
Libre.
crazy. That has to change this year. That's one of the things that's going to have to be a key component in Davis Webb's play calling is getting those tight ends those touchdowns.
And all those tight ends were re-signed with the exception of Engram because he's still on contract, Libre. So that's a really embarrassing stat. It really is. I don't know about fun. It's more embarrassing than it is fun. Shout out to Sleeper Broncos for the fun fact. But going back to what you were saying about PJ Locke, I mean, I still remember when he came in for Simmons in that game against Green Bay, and he just had that interception, and it was like we're in good hands. And I totally forgot he was on this team for that long, and yet he was still the rotational player, even with the additions of Hufanga and Brandon Jones. So I think his work is going to be cut out for him out in Dallas. Dallas did have the worst defense in the league last year, but then again, their coordinator is Eberflus is gone, so maybe they'll have a turnaround in luck. But good luck to them in that aspect. I don't know what the heck's going on, Libre. Again, I feel like we're spinning our wheels here in terms of trying to figure out what it is. But free agency is just as important as the draft because I keep hearing people say, you build your team through the draft, and that might be true, but I believe that's more in respect to like a rebuild. Like you could also build a team through a rebuild like the Raiders have done, for example. But everybody that the Raiders are bringing in, they're bringing in through salary, through cap. And these are players that are either middle-aged or, closer past the 30 mark where you're really taking a big risk. Whereas in the draft, you can get good players at cheap prices and you can see what you got. And it's a little bit easier for them to move because they're all on rookie deals. So you could build your team through those two different ways. You just kind of have to pick one most of the time. Sometimes you can take a little bit from A and a little bit from B, and then you create C, which is what we have. And the Broncos are the AFC West defending champions, Libre. So they cannot stay content. They cannot let their guard down because the Chargers they're nipping at our heels. The Raiders could be nipping at our heels after one quick swoop, and the Chiefs are trying, but I think that they're, they did sign Kenneth Walker, but I think that personally, I think the Chiefs have a whole lot more issues than one running back can fix. And if you've been following the news, they lost a lot of key players, Libre, mostly on defense. So
yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, depending on how he's going to come back from that injury, and this is all sidebar, by the way. I forgot to say sidebar. I don't agree with him bringing back Travis Kelce. You talk about hanging on to. Well, I just don't think
he's
it's
still
a good
under
idea.
contract, so that it's not like they're bringing him back. He's just decided to come back because I don't know how many years left that he has on his contract. He's just decided not to retire yet, but he is aging. He is going to be slower, and is he going to be truly effective this year? Like, and this is going to be the true season that is this potentially his last season now?
I mean, he could have. He could have rescinded some of that money, given it back, and if it's one thing that Travis Kelsey doesn't need right now, it's money. He's going to marry one of the richest people in the world.
The player's gonna hate.
Yeah. I mean, what that woman does in one world tour is what most people do in a lifetime. So it's crazy. But is this the part where we kind of start trying to figure out if this doesn't go right, Libre? Let's say hypothetically the Broncos make no move and the 2026 season is worse than last year. Who do we point the finger at? Do we point it at Sean Payton? Do we point it at George Payton? Or do we point it at the owners who were, as we know, are not afraid to spend money or to burn money? But in this case, it's almost like they're afraid to spend money.
So it's not even about the spending of the money. So it's not the owner's decision. Ultimately, yes, they could say that they want to control like Jerry Jones, but these are not. That's not these owners. But if you have to put blame on anybody, it has to be George Payton, because he is the GM of the team. He gets the players to come onto our team, and then Sean Payton is the one that coaches these guys. So if you have to point any fingers, right now you have to point it at the GM. So if he's not able to do anything or get something together in a trade or get some of these free agents to get here, then you have to look at him and point the finger right at him and saying, George Payton, what are you doing? Let's get together, do your job. So that's the thing is when you come down to it is you have to point it at the GM. He's the one that's making the personnel decision. Sean Payton, he could have somewhat say of what's going on, but ultimately he's the coach. He's the one that's going to be coaching these guys on the field to get them to win and get out there and get prepared for week in and week out. So that's who you have to point at, especially during the offseason, during this period, is let's get things together.
And let me just say for the record, because I keep seeing it again, Broncos country, please stop asking for AJ Brown. We do not need that type of negativity in this team. We talked about this before last week, I believe, Libre. I don't know what it is that people see in AJ Brown where they think that if he came to Denver, he would be a game changer. Like, no. Justin Jefferson would be a game changer. George Pickens would be a game changer, but not AJ Brown.
No, I agree with you on that. Here, I want to show something here.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you got to keep on laughing from crying right now. And I can't agree with you more right there, Rico. I can't agree more, especially with what's happening with the amount of cap money that we do have available for us to use. And we haven't used it with anybody outside of the team as of yet. So that's one thing that you just have to laugh. Like, again, I agree 100% with that.
Bronco Rob saying, "What's up, boys?" And he also asked us,
"What's happening, Bronco Rob?"
AJ Brown went to the Patriots, didn't he? No, you're thinking of Romeo Doubs. Doubs went to the Patriots. AJ Brown currently, as of this recording or stream or whatever you want to call it, is still very much a Philadelphia Eagle.
Yep.
Now, if they want to trade us a wide receiver, I would be okay with them trading us Devontae Smith, because Devontae Smith, that guy's really good.
We were talking offline about and you also brought up Jetta.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be mad, and I would hope. And then Mario Ventanzi actually tweeted it out earlier today, saying manifesting this, and then he has a picture of Justin Jefferson just doing the giddy out there, So that's one thing is if we can pull something together, if we can get an elite wide receiver for Bo Nix, it's over. Like if we just get one one elite wide receiver, and I feel like that's what we need. Because honestly, I love Cortland. He's just not the guy. He's not him. And Justin Jefferson is.
Yeah. I hate to say it, Lieber, but you're totally right. And I defended Cortland Sutton way too much during his career in Denver. And I always wanted to believe that he could be the number one. But as we said many times on this show, the catches he should have made, he didn't. And the catches he shouldn't have catched, he caught upside down, sideways, or in almost any way. He was able to call it tiptoe in some cases.
Yeah.
And then Bronco Rob says, did you guys hear about the Crosby news and Trey Hendrickson? I believe that's national news, Bronco Rob. You'd have to be living under a rock to not have heard
the craziness the craziness of this. And I was talking to a Raider fan at work today about it, and talking about this in particular trade is like, you have to remember they denied him or they failed his physical. But again, if he goes, there's 32 doctors that do physicals for each of these teams. You're going to have 32 different opinions. You're going to have 32, what are they failing and so forth? Is it because I heard like afterwards that they're trying to do both a deal for Trey and also to have Max Crosby there in the backfield, but I feel like they couldn't do it financially for some reason. They gave up too much, and I think that because of his quote unquote injury right there at the end of the season, and the doctor said, you know what, we need our picks back. We're going to be signing him, Trey, for this huge deal, because it came out right away that they signed him and so forth. I'm wondering did they talk with Trey to say, hey, how do you feel like coming in with Crosby? It could have been a situation where it's like, no, I want to be the star here. This is what I want to do. And then Baltimore goes, all right, let's fail him and do that. Because if you go and send him to Tennessee or send him to any team, they might pass him on the physical itself. So you never know what's going to end up happening, why that happened. But because nothing is actually legal until today, when it's actually official with the new league year, Monday started the quote unquote tampering period. Vic Lombardi said it the best. I think it was Vic Lombardi that said it the best, is that with this Max Crosby deal could have started and ended the quote unquote tampering period because of the huge ramifications. Because not only did the Raiders get all and spend all this extra money for all these other players, but it also diverted all of these other teams that were interested in Max Crosby to go elsewhere, to do something else and do all that. So we could see potentially in the future that this quote unquote tampering period could be the final of it. And it's like, nothing can be done, nothing can be said until the start of the new league year. And that's when everything can be out in the open. You re-sign all these guys or whatnot. So, we'll see what the ramifications. Again, I go look back at it as going back to the draft with Jamarcus Russell. That changed the narrative for first round picks, or even all the first rounders, that they don't get all of that max money anymore. They're on a rookie deal, and you have to prove yourself before you get any more money because of Jamarcus Russell. Again, steaming back to the Raiders.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, Libre, but 41 minutes ago, Mike Kliss reported that free agent tight end David Njoku is visiting the Broncos, according to a source. I did
not see that.
Yeah. So could this be big news?
Was this manifesting? Because you're trying to do this since last year.
Yeah. Was I the one that was? Yeah, they wanted.
You're Njoku? Like, oh, I want Njoku here. Let's trade for him. Let's do whatever we want for it. Let's give him the farm. Let's give him everything.
Oh man, you know what? I think I may have been duped. I don't think it's the actual Mike Kliss.
Oh, is it his
one of those faux pas?
The fake ones, yeah.
Yeah, because Mike Kliss is not Mike Kliss 9 News, right?
Let me double check Mike.
Because I think I follow him. I don't know. I may have jumped the gun on that. Shoot.
Live on air. The 6'10" Mexican got duped.
I think I did. Uh, so, uh, Bronco Rob, I don't know if you want to hear. Uh, well, to you make a good point here, that which is we talked about this just a few minutes ago, that the Broncos didn't officially release Dre Greenlaw. Libre brought up a good point that the designate um, the post designation isn't until June 1st. So the Broncos don't technically have to let go of Greenlaw until up in that point or date. However, Bronco Libre also did bring up another good point that maybe since the Broncos are going to let him go anyway, that Greenlaw could be part of a trade piece in a player that they're trying to acquire. So we could be in for the long haul in terms of the Broncos making some type of big splash play, folks. So strap in because it is going to really be a barn burner, it feels like. But to back to the Trey Hendrickson, sorry, and Crosby thing. I have a theory, Libre, and it's a crazy one, and it probably doesn't make any sense. But I was thinking that what if after the whole Max Crosby news and the Ravens, took the world by storm, and and they needed to do something wild because they lost a lot of players to free agency and to a lot of different teams. I have a feeling that the Ravens were influenced by social media because as soon as the news broke, like social media just went on a firestorm in terms of saying, oh, now it's Lamar, now it's Derrick Henry, now it's Max Crosby, but they were also contemplating that the Ravens lost a lot of players. So maybe just having Max Crosby on that defense was not going to be enough for the Ravens to be uh to be a dangerous team because they had lost so many players. So my theory is that I think that somebody at the Ravens front office saw that, brought it to somebody's attention, maybe the owners, whoever, and they kind of did like a second like a second opinion type of thing, like, oh snap, maybe we didn't really think this through. And they used the whole failed physical thing as kind of like a bailout to bail out. And then since we had already heard that Hendrickson was negotiating with different teams in terms of pricing and they didn't want to pay him, that the Ravens changed their mind, dropped Crosby and picked up Hendrickson because they still get to keep their 2 first-round picks and they kind of get to build off of what they lost. So to try to minimize the damage in terms of team, because
that's what you call buyer's remorse.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
really what it is.
So talking about that, I think when they went in and did his physical, he went in without his shirt. And
yeah, I remember.
You know that he has Raiders tattooed all over his chest. They're like, you know what? It's not a Raven. You need to go out there and change it to a Raven. If you're not, we're sending you back. And I think that's what really happened.
I mean, it could be. The good thing is he doesn't have to play without his shirt on. So,
but they have to see him in the locker room.
That's true, but I feel like 99% of all NFL players have tattoos of some sort. So,
but not of another NFL team.
No, not another NFL team. But I wouldn't be mad if Von Miller had one of when he won the Super Bowl. And I think he
does.
Might.
He has the Super Bowl.
But I think it's but it's just the 50. It's not the actual Bronco logo. At least not yet. Give it time.
You know who also had a Kansas City Chiefs tattoo while playing here for the Denver Broncos? Shane Ray.
Oh, that's right. He did. I remember that.
Yeah. That's because he grew up in Kansas City and so forth, and that was his team growing up. But still, like, it was just strange seeing that, especially when he was here in Denver playing for the Broncos and he had a KC tattoo.
I still can't believe I got.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it is his official Twitter account is Mike Kliss 9 News.
Yeah, my apologies to Mike Kliss.
I'm gonna send him that clip.
Send it to him. And that way he can formally accept my apology for not reading not checking for the blue check mark and the
You know
fact
what's
that I
funny?
follow Mike Kliss.
What's funny is my youngest son goes, you can't trust any of the people with the blue check marks because those are you buy those now. You can pay for the blue check mark
That's
because I
true.
was actually because I picked him up at his rehearsal yesterday, and that's when I started getting the notifications about Max Crosby's trade being canceled and whatnot. And then I'm like, oh, it's a blue check mark, but I go, it's not from Adam Scheffner, so I don't know if it's really true because it was from somebody else. And then that's what he was just telling me. And then about 20 minutes later, Adam Scheffner retweeted that same person. I go, okay, now I know that it is a true person that is possibly legitimate because Adam
Hmm.
Scheffner is the one that retweeted it.
Yeah. But we're 50 minutes into this show, ladies and gentlemen, and we still haven't gotten any breaking news, and we probably won't tonight. But hopefully, we can wake up to something tomorrow morning or get some type of action before at least the draft. Uh, but Bronco Rob coming in and reminding us that Bradley Chubb is going to the Bills,
He got
which
paid there
is,
too.
yeah, which I'm trying to figure out how Buffalo has that kind of money because I think they're still on the books for Von Miller, and Von Miller isn't even a Buffalo Bill anymore. So, uh, I'm not saying it's a bad pickup per se, but it would have been great if you still had Von Miller on the team because then you have a little bit of Bronco magic, wearing the white and blue or red and blue or whatever their color scheme is. But either way, it's a good pickup. Chubb still stays in the East, just in the AFC East, I should say. He just literally changes teams, so he's going to go and Malik Willis is the new front runner quarterback for the Dolphins, so he's going to have fun getting to him
Yeah.
in September. PJ Locke to the Cowboys. Yeah, we did a whole segment on that too, Bronco Rob. Libre and I are really going to miss PJ Locke as that rotational piece. We did mention that we do not have any faith in Key. And as Libre pointed out, Key is only sticking around because he plays special teams as well. Rico Tubb saying, Bills overpaid for Chubb, in my opinion. Well, Rico, you
You're
have to.
right. Sorry to cut you off,
Mhm.
but you're right. This is the time where players get overpaid. Teams are overpaying for some of these guys right now. And sometimes you have to overpay for certain players to be there, because if you don't overpay, you're going to be stuck in the doghouse. Because look at the Raiders; they've been in the doghouse for such a long time because
Mhm.
they tend not to overpay their players. So, but once you actually get out there and start to overpay some of these guys, then you have to do it if you want to get better.
Yeah, Benjamin Albright did say in the tweet that the answer is the exact same as it's been the entire time. Yes, the Broncos are going to make some additions. I feel like they got priced out and a couple of targets early, and they're going to wait for wave 2/wave 3 of free agency to get their value.
And you know what? And that's part of why, like, when I say that I'm not mad or I'm not happy of what they've done so far, but they're being smart with their money as well. They're not like going out there because watch, we're gonna get a good quality player at a discounted price. That's kind of what we did with Greenlaw and Hufunga. So I feel like that's what they're doing, and they're being smart about it, and not just throwing all this money out to these guys these very first guys that come out off of the free agency itself. So part of it is good in a way. Watch what we're spending, be conservative with it, and you're still going to get some good quality players because all these guys that's still out there hopefully they're going to be able to still play. Some of them are still going to be starters for some teams as well. So I'm excited for it still. It's not over yet. We have up until the draft for good moves to be made. So we still have about a month ago, a little more than a month ago.
Mhm.
So it's something to keep a lookout. This is just the beginning where people can officially start their contracts today, up until then. So we're gonna hear some noise. It's just that we didn't get the flashy noise that we were expecting and whatnot. And that's why we kept on hearing this.
I mean, I don't know, Libre. I feel like that's something we're gonna keep hearing for what feels like for a while. I mean, to be one of the last two teams out of 31 other teams to not pick anybody is just really freaking weird. And I think the crazy thing is when you read on Broncos Twitter and all these people that are trying to make if Sean Payton reads any of it like feel bad. It's like imagine having a quarterback like Bo Nix and not putting any weapons around him or refusing to. Like nobody knows what's going on in the mind of Broncos country, but everybody's idea and speculation is just crazy, and everyone you read is just almost worse than the than the other. So I really do hope that the Broncos do something, and hopefully Albright is right when he puts out there that the Broncos are going to do something in the second wave or the third wave of free. Maybe he does have a point, Libre. Maybe the players that the Broncos wanted to get, unfortunately, went to other teams. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but they did have their eyes on Dallas Goedert, and I think I did mention it, but unfortunately he went to the Eagles. So, or he's staying with the Eagles, I should say, signing an extension. Now, I also don't know if I said this, Libre, on the show, but I did say, or backstage earlier, that if they could get Carter, yeah, we did talk about that, right? Yeah, okay. See, that's how you know I'm getting old. I forget what I talked about like 30 minutes ago. But you kind of have to, Libre, because especially like you mentioned, the Raiders, they beefed up their O line big time. So our defensive line is going to have to work harder to get to if Mendoza is the guy that they're going with. And I also did hear rumblings that maybe the Raiders are going to go after Cousins to be like the mentor and the backup to Mendoza. So that'll be an interesting sight to see if that does happen. Kirk Cousins as the backup. And he better hope that happens, that he doesn't face Denver, because the last time he faced Denver put the whooping on him.
But again, you have to remember who's the head coach now there in Vegas. And that's
Kubiak.
what Clint Kubiak. So that's the only thing that when he signed there to be there with the Raiders, I knew that it's going to be different for them. They're going to be improving a lot. And you already see it right away with what Clint Kubiak has already been doing. They've been spending money. They've been getting out there and getting what they want. And people are following Kubiak because they know that his system does work. He's part of the Shanahan tree. So he was a coach here for us, like a quarterback's coach and whatnot. So we know that he's going to be good. It's going to be a matter of time before he can hopefully he can't bring them back to their glory days, back into the 80s or whatever. But that's only because he has to face us twice a year. But going back to your point about the draft, about these free agents and so forth, with these couple of teams that have not done anything or only doing from re-signing from in-house of their own players, guess what? There's, I think, 4 teams up at one point from the first since Monday that haven't made any big moves. And guess what? All 4 of those teams made it deep into the playoffs because they have something working. They have something going on. They have the framework, the foundation already of making football, winning football itself. They already have that set up. They probably just need 1 or 2 pieces of just to get them to that next level. And that's just like us. We need 1 or 2 different pieces right now to get us to that next level. And ultimately, it's always any type of team, stay healthy. But we're really missing those a couple pieces right now. And if we can get those guys, trust, this team is going to be super scary next year. And I can't wait.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of regulation, which means it is time for Libre and I to go into some overtime.
Let's go.
Let's go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Broncos Talk Overtime. This is the part of the show, in case you've never been here before, where Libre and I let down our hair figuratively and talk about anything going on in our lives that's not necessary, particularly to football. If there's a way we can bring it back to our beloved Denver Broncos, then we definitely will. I was trying to save a piece about the Trey Henderson thing for this part of the show, Libre, but somebody did bring it up, and I didn't want them to keep them waiting for our opinion. But Bronco Rob does have a question here for us, Libre, where he says, do we think Denver can do it again next year, getting the number 1 seed and making a push for the Super Bowl? Bronco Rob, that's a big question, and that's it's kind of really hard to answer because we're going, even though it feels like we're going into this coming year with what we had last year with all these re-signings, we're not exactly the same team we were last year. Davis Webb is running the offensive call book now. We did lose JFM and PJ Locke to different teams. Dre Greenlaw is still technically to be cut by the team. He could be traded more than likely. Cortland Sutton has kind of went deaf in terms of trying to figure out if he'll even be a Bronco next year. So there's still a lot of hypotheticals and questions going into next year. So even trying to go 14-3 is a bit of a stretch at this point. But also to kind of reiterate what we said at the beginning of the show, the Broncos in a lot of those wins, but as much as we are orange and blue, they won a lot of those games by luck. So to have that same type of luck run another straight year is a really, really tall task. And I hope they can do it. But we saw Kansas City kind of run through the same thing the year before. And last year, they were terrible. I don't care what nobody says. So I don't want the Broncos to have another year where they won their games by sheer luck. 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 out of the season, fine, but not every single one. Like the Broncos have to build a team and they have to build a gameplay where it doesn't always have to come down to a field goal, or it doesn't always have to come down to, winning by a point. We need this offense to come out and step up and put the foot down where it needs to be, because as Libre also stated, their schedule is going to be tougher this time around because they are not going to be playing such a softer schedule as they did last year.
So Bronco Rob, for me, I said, hell yes, it's going to happen. I go, because this team is now better. So if you go back and look at some of these games itself, we talk about coaching. And I feel like, yes, Sean Payton was making the play calling and so forth. Now that we have Davis Webb being the play caller for this upcoming year, that is going to be a huge difference right there, where we're not going to be fighting in the fourth quarter to be coming back, because we're going to be out there dominant going in to the fourth quarter where we're protecting our lead and whatnot, not trying to fight back and try to win these games. So I do feel that that's going to happen. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more difficult itself to be that number 1 seed, but I see that this team has the potential to do that as well. It is going to be a tougher schedule. If you actually look at the teams that we're playing now this year, it is going to be harder. But you know what? I feel like they can do it. We have the people to do it. Bo Nix is now another year deep into this playbook itself. He's going to be able to command and deliver this offense itself. And especially with Davis Webb giving him and leading him that way, he's going to put him in great position to play ball right. And if we can get, like I mentioned earlier, if we can get another true wide receiver 1 right now to help complement Cortland Sutton, that's going to help out. And I feel like if we get that, it's going to be awesome. And yes, I do say that, yes, we're going to repeat as number 1, and we're going to have that first round bye. And I think we could potentially have an easy streak going into the Super Bowl itself. And the way I look at it, and I've said this before, this is just remnants of the 1996 team when we lost to Jacksonville in the first round, in the wild card round. I feel like this is something that we're going to be able to do and replicate and do the and repeat and go to the Super Bowl. History repeats itself over and over again. Mark my words. Check mark it, screenshot it, do whatever you want, send it to me, and we'll talk about it again at the end of the season.
Dang. There you go, Bronco Rob. You got two different opinions from two different sides. One of us is going to be right, unfortunately. And just for the record, you brought this onto yourself. But Libre, I was thinking that maybe we could kind of go around the league and see, what's been going on in terms of, if you have any opinions of what the feeling is like in the league right now. We did mention Kirk Cousins getting let go by Atlanta, which is still a shock to me because I feel like he was all over the place just 2 years ago. And Kyler Murray being let go, same thing. Kyler Murray is supposed to go and try with the Vikings tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yep.
He could be a Viking by then.
You know what? They're just bringing them in, I think, and that could be a backup situation for them as well. But again, I did actually see something with JJ as well from last year's stats. And he was out of the 36 players or quarterbacks that played last year, that had starting games last year, his stats with different things were 35, 35, 33, 35, 36, like one of the worst statistics out there for him. So if Kyler Murray is going to be that guy up there for them, which I don't think he will be, but I think it's going to be more of the leadership. And I know because one of my bosses, he's a huge Arizona Cardinals fan, and that's all he kept on saying during this offseason so far. We need to cut Kyler. We need to cut Kyler. We need to get him out of here. We need to do all that. And then when they finally did it, and I showed him, I go, "Hey, look, you guys just cut Kyler," and he was like, "Thank you, God." And he was like, "Oh, I can't believe it." Yes. But my surprise was Tua being released by Miami and then going to Atlanta. So now Atlanta has two left-handed quarterbacks on their roster. So that's interesting right there. With Penix Jr. being a lefty and now Tua a lefty as well. I saw something, I can't remember who said this. I think it was from Altitude Sports, Brett Kane. I think he said it that if Tim Tebow was playing in this era right now, he would be a Pro Bowl quarterback. And I'm like, you know what? He's probably not wrong. Just because of the way that the league is set up right now and all these lefties that are out there, he might be pretty competitive. But he's what was it? He came out 15 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difference.
I don't know, Libre. I still keep thinking that. I mean, it still sucks what happened to the Bears and them losing their center, who just retired out of the blue. I thought that they were going to go after Tyler Linderbaum, and they kind of slipped through their fingers, and now he's going to the Raiders. The interesting though is now that Crosby is kind of back at the in Las Vegas. A lot of people think that the Raiders are going to have to flake out of some of their contracts because they're not going to have the money to pay all of those people. And unfortunately, that's not true because the Raiders have enough money to pay all those contracts and still keep Crosby. The issue is that the Raiders don't want Crosby there, and Crosby doesn't want to be there because he's already went on record to say he does not want to be a part of a rebuild, So there's no point in keeping him because if they do, there's going to be even more tension. There's going to be even more disputing. It could be where, Crosby doesn't even see the field as a Raider because he's sitting out, and it doesn't matter if he gets fined and what have you. So the Raiders are trying to avoid all of that. So I think that probably I want to guess that by the end of the week, I think that Crosby's going to go to Dallas, where he was initially going to go to, because the Cowboys were literally just a phone call away from securing Crosby before the whole Ravens thing went down. And that could still be on the table. But now that this whole him not passing a physical thing has hit the media, I think that a lot of teams are just going to wait until they get a second opinion to get more clarity and make sure that everything is good to go before that phone starts ringing again. I could be wrong. I could be right. I don't know. But whatever team that Crosby goes to, you better believe that he will be a game changer from day one, especially if he can help improve the players around him, because that's just the kind of guy he is. In Las Vegas, he had no help. I'm sorry. Outside of him, that whole defensive line was not very good. So, uh, hopefully he finds a home soon, and he'll probably break the bank. Maybe, I don't know, but and the Raiders are, hopefully they don't get anything for him. No more first round picks.
Like that does change it, like how I mentioned earlier, it changes everything within the free agent market culture, I believe. What they were getting, I do feel like Baltimore overpaid for it. That's why I said that it was something that was more of a buyer's remorse than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, like I said, it still can be, you have 32 teams, 32 different team doctors, 32 different opinions. What were they looking at in this physical? Like what were they looking at? Because I know that he did have surgery and whatnot. Is it something related to the surgery? What's going on with that? Is it going to be healthy enough by the time training camp comes along? So that's where it's going to come down to. Like he could come here to Denver and our doctors could say, hey, he passes the physical. Let's get this done. But I don't think the Raiders are going to get what they were what Baltimore offered him. It's going to be a lot less now. It's not going to be the same, especially now that the Ravens did uh, uh, reject the trade itself because of his physical and his failed physical itself. They're not going to get anywhere close to what they were going to get from him.
I agree, but something is still better than nothing. At least the Raiders aren't dealing with like an unrestricted free agent type of situation where they're going to get nothing out of it. So for them to get something, I guess they should be counting their blessings in certain terms. But is there a player, Lieber, that's already signed out there that you wish the Broncos could have gotten?
Yes. Travis Etienne. I wish that we
Really?
would have got him. Yeah.
Huh. I would have never guessed Travis.
And this is before the J.K. Dobbins re-signing. Right? It's just something that we need. That's like an area of need that we need to be better at as well, where we can't just be a passing team. We can't be one-dimensional. And I feel like he would have helped us out here. And I think that's where us as a team, that George Payton failed of actually trying to lure him, like get him here.
Yeah, if I had to pick, I forget what team. I think he went to the Commanders, but Leo Chenal from the Chiefs, the linebacker, I would have really loved to have seen him in a Broncos uniform. Now, that's more than likely would have never happened because it's very rare for teams to trade in their own division, unless it's for like players that are not exactly, you know, game changers, and it's probably like a couple of lesser known players for lesser lower round picks, that type of stuff. That's not uncommon, but otherwise it's like no. But when I saw that he went to the Commanders, I was like, man, because when I play Madden, the very rare times I do, I know Chenal is one of my go-to guys, and he's always on my team. So because in my eyes, he's pretty good. Uh, is there one player who you believe Libre got overpaid, that a team overpaid for, like more than normal?
I do feel that I think KC overpaid for Kenneth Walker III. But again, I think it's because they didn't re-sign Isaac Pacheco, and I feel like they just want something to be more competitive and whatnot. And so I do feel that that was it, just because he was the NFL, Super Bowl MVP.
Mm-hmm. Again, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Libre, and I did make the point that the Chiefs have a lot more issues than what Walker can help solve, because it's still unknown what Mahomes' condition is going to look like after when he comes back. Because as far as we know, Mahomes has never had an injury like that before, and those types of injuries can change players, Libre. Some players, it takes time for them to acclimate to their older selves, or in some cases they just can't seem to do it,
Yeah.
because it's one of those regards where players are afraid to get hurt, you know. So for me, I would probably say that I feel like the Rams overpaid for McDuffie. I
Yeah.
don't think that he was that valuable of an asset where they had to go and get that. And the one thing I love about that is that somebody on Broncos Twitter was like, "Hey Rams, this is what you're getting," and they kept showing clips of him getting burnt by Cortland Sutton, which I found hilarious.
That is pretty funny. And you know what? Broncos country, get it out there. Let's do it.
Hmm. So it's like, oh my god, I was like, please don't let the Rams see this, and then they pull out, like, what, we don't want McDuffie anymore. But if it's one thing we know that the Rams love doing is they love to give away their first round picks, and so now I
You know,
think it's McDuffie and Ramsey.
yeah, so you have to remember, what did they do the last time? When they made this huge deal and they got their star quarterback. And what did they do that very first year? They won a Super Bowl. I feel that that's type of the move that the Rams did this year as well. It's like, all right, now we got the next guy, and we're gonna have our Super Bowl year. That's, I feel like, what they're trying to do right now.
Well, I mean, you're right, but Matt Stafford. It wasn't just Matt Stafford. They went out and they got Von Miller, which was a complimentary piece to Aaron Donald, and they just, with a little bit of luck as well,
Mhm.
they came in, they cashed in, and they took advantage when advantage needed to be taken. So, but stuff like that is really hard to replicate, Libre, and that's a hell of a gamble again, and you better hope it pays off, because you're literally gambling a piece of your present for a piece of your future type of situation. And then you're really going to have to build around free agency, because you won't have any picks to do it in the draft. And I mean, I don't know. It just, that just to me kind of feels like so far the most overpriced one. Now, I think the most probably crazy one, maybe even embarrassing, is the Geno Smith going back to the Jets. And the only reason I say that is because when it was announced that that Geno Smith was not going to go back to the Raiders, which everybody already knew, that he got roasted by the Wendy's restaurant chain, where they were like, "Yeah, we need a chief tasting officer," or something like that. And then then Gino and Wendy's were just kind of trading blows back and forth. And then a couple of days later, it's like, "Oh, well, you're going back to the Jets," and it sounds like the Jets don't have any confidence in Justin Fields, Libre. So we could be watching Geno Smith not just have started his career as a Jet, but maybe possibly end his career as a Jet
Well,
as well.
you have to also remember that he's also the same first ever player in NFL history to be let go twice in back-to-back years by the same coach, and by
Oh,
two
he's
different teams. Because he was in Seattle, Clint Kubiak went over there to be the offensive coordinator there, and they didn't said deuces. And now that he's the head coach there in Vegas, he said, "Hey, Gino, you out." And that's the scenario. You better, because we already knew that he was getting released anyway. So, and the Raiders got something in return for him. and that's like a smart move on that part by trading him away.
I didn't even think about that, Libre, but you're right. Like, and that was when that whole thing started about like him writing back. He didn't write back or some crap like that, and it like took off. And ironic that the year he leaves Seattle is the same year that they went and go and win a championship. And Pete Carroll looks like he was about to pull another great train robbery, bringing back Geno Smith and whatnot, and it turned out to be one of the worst seasons in Raiders history.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, do you think that this could probably be a bounce back season with Ashton Genty now that there's a new sheriff in town?
Well, the way that Kubiak has acquired some of these players, especially getting the first of all, they started with their center, and they need to work on that as well. And being able to get that set up, he's going to be that crutch for Mendoza when he's there, because they're going to hand it off to him. And as long as he stays healthy, it could be a good bounce back year for him. But again, I feel that they're going to overwork him and he might be tired out real quick. So my hope is that they don't do nothing, because they're the Raiders, and then that's what they do. Raiders are going to do Raiders stuff, and but I can see them actually doing a pretty good job this upcoming year because of Kubiak and what he's already done for the team itself. Is he's setting it up in place to have a good offensive setup, and having Mendoza being very successful coming into the year of the very first year of his for him.
I agree with you too as well. Hopefully you're right on that, but I don't want to jinx it, because the last time I gave my opinion about an AFC West coach, I was totally wrong when I said that Harbaugh was when he took over for the Chargers, and he was going to be just like Brandon Staley, and then it turned out to be a totally opposite thing. So I don't want to jinx it. But I do hope you're right, though. I will say that much. Rico Tubbs saying, I wouldn't have confidence in Justin Fields either. I mean, it's really tough to kind of, crack on Justin Fields, because just 2 years ago, everybody in Broncos country was going crazy at the thought of Justin Fields possibly being a Bronco. When people found out that the Bears were going to deal him, nobody thought he was going to go to Pittsburgh, let alone them picking up Russell Wilson and then all of a sudden creating this like quarterback controversy or carousel or whatever you want to call it. And then last year he goes to the Jets, has a chance to show that he can be his own guy and he doesn't have to rely on nobody else. And unfortunately, Aaron Glenn and nobody on that team really did him any favors, and he had probably his worst season in his current career. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets move Justin Fields, especially if they start kind of seeing that, him and Geno aren't going to get along, which could be the thing, especially if Justin Fields doesn't want to stick around and play second fiddle. I mean, the only other team I know, if Kyler Murray signs with the Vikings, let's say hypothetically speaking, the only other quarterback team that needs a quarterback would be Arizona. So,
no, I think because right now, no, Arizona just got a quarterback as well. So they have Jacoby Brissett, who's there right now, and they have somebody else. Who was it? I just showed him my boss because he's an Arizona Cardinal fan, and I forget who it was. Oh,
well,
Gardner Minshew.
They
They
did
just
sign
got
Gardner Minshew. Yeah. Well, I mean, neither one of those guys really. I mean, Jacoby had a chance to outshine Murray last year, and I guess he did just enough because it was enough for the Cardinals to get move on from Kyler. But I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen teams add 3 quarterbacks, Libre. So
we're one of
them. Yeah, I mean, we did sign Sam Mellinger, and we still have Stiddy on the team, and I think I read somewhere that he will hit the $8 million contract mark in June 1st, if he's not if he doesn't move to another team. So I don't know.
And again, that's part of like the thing is I think they signed Sam because it could be that Jarrett Stidham might be part of that quote unquote trade package. So again, Minnesota still needs a quality quarterback, and if they part of it, Justin Jefferson coming here. I'm just saying that there's something that could be something in the works.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Actually, Libre, the one thing we didn't talk about was the re-signing of J.K. Dobbins. Are you
I brought
happy
it up
with
a little
that
bit,
plan?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did bring
I
it
must
up.
have missed it. I'm sorry.
So, and that's what I was saying. It's like having him and Harvey being that 1-2 punch, and being it, and Harvey having the second year now, and with Davis Webb being the play caller, where he would actually not overuse JK. And I feel like, and because JK loved it here, and it's because of the culture that the Broncos have. And he said it right at the end of the season. He goes, I'm an Ohio guy, and I'm a Bronco. Even though I wasn't drafted here, this is my team. This is who I am. So I like the signing. It's just now like we just need to not put so much work on him and have it where it's split between the both of them so that they're healthy throughout the whole season.
I mean, I get it too, and I'm kind of glad because there was so much like negativity and just like I don't know, it wasn't a good vibe. You know, it was like if they didn't sign J.K. Dobbins, it was like the whole world was gonna crumble. You know, and I kind of felt like it was the people were overreacting, and then that's when everybody was like, "Oh, we need Kenneth Walker. We need him to come in. He needs to be the guy. If he's not the guy, then we're screwed." And blah blah blah. And it was kind of like, "Oh, he resigns. He's coming back. Okay, good." Uh, but I wholeheartedly agree. I think him and Harvey have great chemistry together, and the fact that the Broncos are taking a risk, hopefully it pays off where he doesn't get injured again. So that way, and he already knows the offense, so you don't have to kind of redo and rework stuff with Davis Webb, because he already knows that he obviously he's going to tweak it and move it and whatnot, but it won't be a complete turnaround. Now, Jaleel McLaughlin is a free agent and he hasn't been re-signed, and it's probably likely that they move on from him, especially if the Broncos do get a running back in the draft. So, I mean, anything can happen, Libre, and we still haven't gotten any free agency sightings.
And again, it's there's it's again crickets all day long. But you know what? I have faith in these guys that's in the front office. That's why they're in there. They're in a position there for a reason. And you just have to be able to have faith in these guys, because we haven't made any moves up front, big splashes here on day one. Trust me, it's going to be there. We signed our guys that we needed to sign. We got them back. Alex Singleton, Sternad, so we're in the position that we're still going to be in a good spot. But again, we need to be patient. I know we don't want to be patient. We want that big name showing that they're here, like how we had last year with Evan Ingram and whatnot. But trust the process. It's going to be there. They know what they're doing. We're in that championship window here, and they need to we, Broncos country, need to have faith in them. Yes, we can have our opinions and say, gosh, let's get out there. Let's do something. But that's part of it. That's part of the fandom, because we want to see these. We want to see all the excitement as well. But it'll happen. We'll be there, guys. Don't worry.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for our time today. Ladies and gentlemen, Libre and I would like to say thank you to everybody in our chat today. Rico, Bronco, Rob, who else was in here? Shy Vargas, and I think we had a spammer. But
yeah, that looks like a spammer.
Yeah, it looked like a spammer. I thought that was maybe one of my cousins or whatever, but there's nobody in my family named Kathleen. Ladies and gentlemen, before we head on out of here, we would just like to ask you again if you could please show your support for us here. If you could subscribe, share, comment, and like on this and all the previous videos that we have here on the show. Hopefully, we'll have some better news for you guys next week in terms of the Broncos maybe signing at least one person to try to, get some excitement and something going around, because it has been a very, very uneventful day in certain terms here in Broncos country. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. For any audio listeners, regardless of what what platform you're listening us to, 5-star reviews are very much appreciated if you enjoy the show. If you like to screenshot it and send it to us, Libre and I will definitely give you a shout out and read your review live here on the air on our Twitter handles. You can send it to, mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. Our show today was sponsored by Dubby. Again, if you use the code OBN10, you'll get 10% off your final order at checkout. Again, thank you, Dubby, for being a sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network. Ladies and gentlemen, quick reminder that Viva Los Broncos will be on this Friday, March 13th. So make sure you tune in, because the next show will not be until the following month, where Libre and I will be on live for the second day of the draft. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us live, and hopefully the Broncos will not trade away all their picks, and we can actually talk about the picks in real time. So again, we will see you all next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Whatever time of night or day it is, please make sure you enjoy yourselves. We will catch you all next week. Join us on Friday if you have the ability to. Otherwise, keep those translators on. We will see y'all next week. He's Bronco Libre. I'm Adan Diaz. This has been Broncos Talk here on the Orange and Blue Networks. We say so long, good night, and as always, go Broncos! Let's go. Our timing for the overtime was better. We got to work on that, Libre.
Unacceptable, bro.
Unacceptable. Johnny's going to fire us, man.